Hey, we will go ahead and get started in the interest of time. Thank you so much to everyone who is joining us today for our May Be Well Lunch and Learn titled Mental Health, First Aid, and Are You Okay? An overview for the workplace. We're so excited to have Hio North, a trauma-informed somatic life coach here with SupportLink, our employee assistance program, and she's going to be talking to us today. Before I pass this over to her, just two reminders. The first being that we do record these, so if you are unable to stay for the entire session, we will be sending out a recording and a copy of the slides in a follow-up email within the next day or so. And then if you have any questions or comments, feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A feature, and we will get to as many as time allows for. So with that, I will pass this over to Hio and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. And welcome to the seminar on Mental Health First Aid and Are You Okay?, which is an overview for the workplace. And this is provided by your SupportLink Employee Assistance Program, also known as your EAP. Again, my name is Hio North, and I'm so excited to be here. And so before we dive into today's conversation and the crux of what we're going to be talking about, we just need to do a quick order of business. And here is a brief disclaimer that this presentation was created by your EAP service, and I would like to acknowledge the general views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this training are those of the presenter, also known as myself, and that this presentation is intended to provide general tips, advice, and coping skills. Today's session is not considered therapy, so if you are seeking specific advice on your unique situation, please reach out to a licensed professional for a confidential one-on-one consult, and that there are resources at the end of this PowerPoint that will include contact information and other resources to get started, that they will be resources that will be going over within the webinar itself. And so I do want to just mention two things before we dive into to today's topic. The first one is I want to invite each one of you to set an intention of what is it that you would like to learn? What are some questions that you would love to see answered? Maybe it's for yourself, maybe it's for a loved one, maybe it's for your a concerned coworker, a concerned parent, whatever that is, to just set up that intention. And I like to just have that invitation given so that you can maybe write it down on a piece of paper so you don't forget, maybe make a mental note. But by doing this, we're giving our brain a responsibility to seek out and find the answer. Okay, we're giving it a job. The second one that I also want to mention is that we're going to briefly be touching upon suicide. And so this can be a very triggering, emotionally activating topic. And so I just want to kind of give you a heads up right now. And as I'm just saying this, if you feel like this is going to be too much for you, I want to give you permission to kind of like maybe step back from the webinar. Maybe right now is not the time to hear about this, right? Maybe right now it's not time for you to feel triggered. And more than anything, it's really important for me to make sure that you are feeling safe, okay? And so that means either getting up, walking away, getting a drink of water, whatever that is. And so just with that being said, I'm going to just double check on the chat box and the question box because I'm seeing a few things pop up. So let me double check here. Oh, yes. Okay. Hello. Are we all muted? Yes. I want to make sure I'm muted. Yes. It looks like everyone is muted. Thank you so much for asking that question. And if you do have any comments and questions, please put them either in the chat box or Q&A box, and I will try to look at that and address them. All right. So the purpose of this seminar is to become aware of how prevalent mental health concerns are. Identify common signs and symptoms of emotional distress generally, but also in the workplace. In other words, what do you look out for in a colleague? How do you know when someone needs to seek out or be guided to appropriate help? You also know how to assist someone who is experiencing mental health concerns. In other words, what do you say? Where do you direct them to? When are things outside of your scope? What is in my control? What is not in my control? And overall, you'll learn hands-on skills that you can apply in real life. And so I want to begin with an icebreaker activity. And so I want to invite you to look at these words and then to ask yourself, what do they mean to you? Like when you read these words and you hear me say mental health, mental illness, depression, anxiety, stress, what comes up for you? What are some of the emotions and thoughts and narratives? And I'm going to give you a moment to think about that and to put that in the chat box. And these could range from it feels it feels unclear, it feels uncertain. Maybe it feels like there's too much stigma around it, or I don't know how to ask for help, or I don't know how to address this issue even in my own self. Whatever that is, okay. Just want you to notice what is coming up for you, and if you would just share that in the chat box. And I'm going to just open this here. Okay. Okay. Need support, self-care, balance, affects everyone. Yeah. Currently dealing with this in myself and close friends. Okay. Super interesting that you're noticing this within your own self and noticing this with close friends. Um, Sadness that will not go away on its own, lack of motivation, how to help someone, getting started asking for help seems like a challenging first step. Yeah. And so deep down inside, you want help, you need help. How do you bridge that gap? It feels so big, it feels impossible. Let me see here. Too much stigma, don't know how to cope with it. It masks in frustration, anger, feeling constantly overwhelmed, right? Yeah. And I'm really glad you are able to kind of see these connections, you know, to the stigma and how it's manifesting in frustration and anger within you. Okay. Not enough people understand these words and how to help people. 100% helpless as an outsider watching others close to you dealing with any of these issues. Yeah, I feel so powerless, out of control, familiar, dealing with all of these on a regular basis with myself and family. Emotional, psychological, social well-being. Not enough people understand these symptoms and typically don't know how to help. And we're still learning about the myriad of symptoms, and generally with symptoms, um, there's some pretty like umbrella symptoms, right? But then each one of us, um, there's a little bit of nuance there. There can be a little bit of nuance there because of our own experiences, because of our own biology, because of our own of our own past experiences and so forth. Let's see here. Being unable to get out of your own head and see how your life really is, but being stuck in how you perceive it. And when you say that, I feel like that first of all, I want to just give you kudos for being mindful and being aware that things going on. There's like a lot of like mental chatter in your mind, right? And you don't want to see that. Okay, so how can we perceive life as it really is? And I'm just curious to know what what is the sense of reality that is there that you have not yet believed, but you would like to. And so that's kind of a thought that just kind of came out for me. So these are just like really good insights. And I just read 5 bullet points. That's all I did. And so much can come up from just beginning to have this conversation. And so one of the questions that I'd like to just then extend out to you, and I'm going to see if you can like sit with it, answer it within. If you want to share it in the chat box, you can. But for those that are feeling helpless, angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, anxious, hopeless, feeling out of control, let me see here. I want to then ask you, how do you know you are feeling these emotions? In other words, what are some of your body cues that's coming up for you when you're feeling out of control, when you're feeling like you're too much in your head, or you're feeling frustrated or angry? And I want to see if you can ground yourself within your body. noticing maybe the tension where it is, the movement of your stomach, maybe the clenching of your jaw, maybe the tension in your neck. Like you can just really feel like those, like the nerves just like bulging out, whatever that is. I'm going to see if you can just bring your awareness to those sensations right now and see if we can ground ourselves from the present, in the present moment, to what is as we continue on. And more than anything, I hope that the questions that I offer each one of you, that you can choose to answer or not answer, it is always a choice. But that if you do choose to answer them, just noticing how it's feeling and see if we can gather that as information. Okay. All we're doing is gathering information, because I want you to be able to take that information and begin to really find the resources that is going to be very much curated to you and your own mental and emotional needs. Okay. And so I hope that you'll be open to this experience as we go through this webinar. All right, let me see if I've got, let me see if there's any other comments. Okay, yeah, so you're noticing that. And so don't forget any of this. So I know you're sharing with me, but can you share it with yourself? Like, go grab a Post-it note. Where's my Post-it note? It's somewhere in here. Not that it can help you. I can't just give it to you, right? But I want you to write these down, because again, we are gathering information that you can take, and we can begin to find resources that's going to be very much curated to what you are in need of. Okay, but yeah, the clenching of teeth, finger tapping on temples. Oh, that's super interesting. Poor sleep, headaches, upset stomach. Yeah, mind is racing, eyes is twitching. Really interesting insight. Shoulders are up. Okay, there's neck pain, feeling overwhelmed, paralyzed. Now I end up doing anything except working on the thing, which makes sense, right? Because work equals paralyzed, which equals what? Yeah, it equals, yeah, it equals the opposite of being productive and producing and all of that. So it makes sense. Increase in tightness, sleeping excessively. Okay, so it's on one end, some of you may not be sleeping enough. You're like, oh, and then other of you're like, I'm just sleeping too much, And so one of the resources that I will be offering you is a sleep fitness interactive toolkit. To get some clarity around that. And that could be that might be the next step for you. But yes, so yeah, your Tourette's flare. So just noticing the connections of like, when this is going on, this happens in my body. And so and the reason why I'm asking you this question, because number one, it's not normally, we don't go around and say, hey, how you feeling? What's your body cue? Like, we don't all do that, okay? But as I'm asking you this, I'm inviting you to get into your body so that you get to start being the observer of what is going on and what it is that your body is trying to tell you, which probably some of you already know. Some of you are just like, I don't know yet. And I don't know if I'm ready to know that, okay? So I hope that what the resources I offer, there's something about those resources will resonate with you as to what the next steps are, so that we can help you to build a foundation of resource and help. So despite any stigma, mental health concerns are prevalent. And so here are some important statistics from the National Alliance of Mental Illness, that 1 in 5 adults in the US experience a mental illness every year. Approximately 1 in 20 adults in the US experience a serious mental illness in a given year that will substantially interfere with at least one major life experience or one life activity. That 101% or 1.1% of adults in the US live with schizophrenia. 2.8% of adults in the US live with bipolar disorder. 7.8% of adults in the US had at least one major depressive episode in the past year. That's 19.1% of adults in the US experience an anxiety disorder such as post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and specific phobia. And unfortunately, only 44.8% of the adults in the US with a mental health condition receives mental health services in the past year. So despite these issues being real and common, many of us aren't sure how to support a colleague or even seek support for ourselves that are suffering with a mental illness. So just as, some of you may have learned how to do CPR or the Heimlich maneuver, it's important to understand basic mental health first aid strategies. And so before you can ask a colleague about the problems, what we want to do is first be able to identify when he or she or our own selves are experiencing a problem. So by definition, mental illness impacts more than one aspect of a person's life. So that means that the symptoms of mental illness or emotional distress will often have a corresponding impact on a person's performance and productivity in the workplace. And I think one or more of you have mentioned that you're just noticing this internal pattern, which equals to I don't get any work done. Okay, I think that is good information, and I hope that you'll see that as information that you can write it down, and how you just wrote out that pattern just so beautifully. Okay, again, we're just bringing in information, and so this slide highlights some of the common symptoms of distress and how they manifest in the workplace, where you might notice them within your own self or within others. And I'm going to give you a moment to just read through this and see what is resonating with you, what you notice in yourself and in others. And again, we're just gathering information because I want you to be able to do this so that we can begin to find resources that's going to be very much curated to what your needs are at the current moment. Okay. All right. So sometimes when symptoms of distress are left untreated, mental illness may cause people to have thoughts about suicide. Now, again, I had mentioned before that we are going to be touching upon suicide. And so this is where we're going to be bringing it in maybe a couple more times. And if this is feeling triggered, if this is feeling a little bit too much emotionally activated, again, I want to give you permission to not have to be on air, right? And if that is what self-care looks like for you, please take care of your own self. Maybe you just need to move your hands a little bit, maybe bring in some intentional movement of your feet, tapping them, but like bringing them in intentionality, taking a drink of water. Please do all of that. Okay. And so the mnemonic is pathworm can help you to easily remember the signs of suicide. I mean, stands for ideation or thoughts, and they range from passive ideation, I wish I wouldn't wake up, to active ideation, I'm going to shoot myself tonight. S stands for substance abuse, which is increased alcohol or drug use, increase in frequency or amount or both. P stands for purposelessness, believing or saying things like, what's the point? A stands for anxiety. So in the workplace, this might appear as pressured speech, someone talking abnormally fast or catastrophizing where someone expects the worst to happen. T stands for trapped, feeling that there's no way out. H stands for hopelessness. It's never going to get better or no one can help. And W stands for withdraw, isolating from friends and family, not doing things that you would normally enjoy doing, such as hobbies and certain activities. A stands for anger. This can manifest in murder-suicide situations where an individual murders a loved one or targets a group. R stands for recklessness, unprotected sex, binge alcohol or drug use. Let's see here, reckless driving. And M stands for mood change, drastic mood. And these are drastic mood changes. So if you believe that someone may be thinking about suicide, you want to first ask them if they are thinking about killing themselves. And please know that this is not going to put the idea into their head or make it more likely that they are going to attempt suicide. The next one is to listen without judgment and showing that you care, that you're actually present with them. The next one is stay with the person or make sure the person is in a private, secure place with another caring person until you get further help. And then remove any objects that could be used in a suicide attempt. And then you would want to call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. The easiest way to do this is to dial 988 and follow their guidance. And if danger or self-harm seems imminent, you always want to call 911. And so why would you want to put off a conversation or tell a person to just hang in there? Because we want to direct people to seek help before things worsen, and because we don't want to miss an imminent safety concern. So eminent safety concerns are going to be the most critical to address and seek immediate support for. And I just want you to know that it is not your job and it is not expected of you to determine what is or what is not a risky situation. That you do not have to be a counselor in the workplace. That the important thing is to learn how to recognize the signs, know how to initiate conversations, point your colleagues to resources, and know when to seek help. And you don't always have to know the right answer to fix the problem. Okay. And that if there is an imminent risk to someone's safety, to please seek out help as soon as possible by contacting the mental health professional or calling the National Suicide Prevention Hotline again at 988. And if anyone's safety is in immediate danger, you always want to call 911. So before you can look out for others, you also want to look out for your own self, and that's okay. And so because you want to be in the right headspace to handle situations, so these are some questions that you can ask yourself, all right? And you know what, with some of these questions, maybe some you'll be able to say yes, I can, and others you may not be able to say yes. It's going to be like a no. The first one, am I willing to be a genuine listener? Or am I willing to genuinely listen? I apologize. It could be both too, right? Maybe listening is not your forte, and maybe you're not the right person to be there. Okay, but you might know someone else who is a genuine listener. Okay, and if you are you willing to be there and hold space for that person? Okay, and it might not be the right time. It might not be the right place. So can we put something on the books and say, hey, I want to hold space for you. I know you have some things that you want to share, and I'm here to listen. I got a meeting I need to go to, but I want to be here. Let's meet right after. Where can I find you? Okay. And the next one is, can I give as much time as needed? Okay, is there time for that? It might be yes, it might be no. If it's going to be a no, how can we find time? How can we make time? Next one, do I understand that I can't fix it? Okay, so this can be really hard on leaders when we are expected to have answers to problems and to solve problems and to be a problem solver and to know the answer to things. And we might not in so many cases. Next one, do I accept that they may not be ready to talk? Okay, and so even as close friends, they may not be ready to share some really hard things that's going on. It feels so vulnerable. Okay, have I chosen a private place? So make sure that this is a place where there's going to be very little distraction. And am I the right person? The answer might be yes. The answer might be no. Okay, and if you're not the right person, can you help facilitate and bring in the right person that is going to be able to have that sense of connection, safety, and trust? And so the Are You OK program provides us with a simple framework for addressing mental health. And the program was actually started by a family in Australia after losing their father to suicide. Their mission is to inspire and empower individuals to connect with people around them and support anyone struggling with life. And that this program has been endorsed and adopted by groups and organizations across the globe. And so the Are You OK program has 4 steps. The first one is ask. The second one is listen. 3 is encourage action, and 4 is to check in. So by following the steps of the Are You OK program, you'll be able to boost your confidence to meaningfully connect with others and ask them about life's ups and downs. You'll develop a sense of responsibility to ready to support others, and ultimately, you'll help strengthen a sense of belonging in vulnerable colleagues by letting them know that you care about them. So now that you understand the warning signs and have prepared yourself, it's time to ask the person you're concerned about, hey, are you doing all right? Are you okay? And it's best to approach the person in a relaxed, friendly, and concerned manner. You can help them to open up by asking questions like, how are you doing? What's been happening? It's been a long time. We should get together. And so you can also mention specific things that have made you concerned for them, like you seem less chatty as usual. What's going on? We haven't seen you at lunch recently. Is everything okay? And so they can, offer a variety of explanations or responses to any of this, and And if one of them were to respond with something like, I'm fine, always, I always encourage to follow up with, how are you doing really? Or tell me more about that. And so by starting an "Are you okay?" conversation and commenting on the changes that you've noticed, you could help coworkers open up. If you say that they are, if they say that they are not okay, you can follow the next steps to show them that they're supported and to help them find strategies to better manage the load. And if they are okay, they'll know that you're someone who cares enough to ask. Right? So sometimes we don't know what to say. This can be a challenging situation for anyone. And so here's some alternatives to help you connect. So instead of saying something like, you seem depressed, maybe it might be something like, you're not your usual self. Instead of saying snap out of it, maybe, do you want to talk about it? Or what else can we say about that? Hey, it's been a while since we went and did a coffee chat. Can we go? Avoid saying something like, think positive. Okay. How many of us really love that phrase? Hey, just think positive. Like, nobody. I don't think I'm seeing any clapping of hands at all. Okay. And so what else can you say? It's always okay to ask for help, or you know what? I've been there, or I hear you, or I think I get that, or can you tell me more about that? And also, finally, it's not usually helpful to say, I know exactly what you're going through, because in reality, we don't really know exactly what another person is going through, even though the circumstances might be really similar. And even though we may get a sense of what they're feeling and thinking and processing, it's never going to be exactly the same, you know. But we can hold space for, hey, I see that this is really distressing for you, and I'm really worried for you. Like, can we have a conversation? You want to talk to me about that? So after initiating the conversation, you'd want to shift your focus onto listening to develop a deeper, more meaningful connection. So again, the number one theme here is connection. Okay. Connection with greater safety, connection with greater trust. Okay. And so how do we do that? One of the first things is to be able to listen. And so these are some useful listening tips: to take what they say seriously, to not rush the conversation, to stay calm, not interrupt, encourage them to elaborate. Tell me more about that. Okay. Don't take the reaction personally, meaning that they may not be ready to talk to you. They may start talking and then they just kind of like stop and be like, it's too much. I can't say anymore. Okay. So we can just like honor their own boundaries of what they feel like they can and cannot share. And so once you've given them ample time for them to open up, you'll want to begin prompting them to take action. So this part can be collaborative. And so these are some questions that you can ask, asking the other person, how can I help? What have you done in the past to manage a similar situation? In other words, has this happened in the past? What happened? How did you get through it? Where do you think we need to go from here? What is it that you need? What is your next step? And maybe it's simply just like, I just need someone to just hear me out without judging me. Sometimes that's all they need. And if that's all that they need from you, like right now for that day, it is enough. And so by asking these questions, you're helping the other person to get curious about what are the resources that they are in need of, and to become more of a problem solver that can be more empowering. And also to be prepared for the possibility that they may be hesitant to seek further support. Okay, a family member, a coworker, a team lead, whoever that is. It can even be your own self. As we're having this conversation, you're like, I know I'm going through this. This is what I'm feeling. These are like my body cues. This is what I think is going on. I don't know if I'm ready to seek further support. And that's okay too, because you probably have a really good reason and they probably have a really good reason why they might not be ready to receive support. It just might not be safe enough there might be too much stigma, there might be too much negative narrative around seeking professional help. And so, and so just holding space for all of that. And it's okay if that's where they're at. I think more than anything, the important thing is can we continue the conversation? Can we continue the connection? Because they may not be ready today. They might not be ready next week. They could be ready in 2 weeks. And you just never know. So the most important thing is to never put off the conversation until later in the week. Okay. And then also another one is we don't want to suggest that they simply just work it out with a manager or just work it out on their own. And then to tell them to just hang in there because they've been hanging in there for a while. I bet for some of you, as if I were to take a survey, how many of you have been hanging in there? Probably a lot of you have been hanging in there. And it's like, maybe it's the last thing you want to do right now. And you're ready for something more. You're ready for what's the next step? What can help me closer to what I want mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, all of that. Okay, so here is a scenario. And I just want to invite you to share your insight to this if you have any. Michelle has been late to team meetings. When you speak to her about work on the phone, she seems out of it, unable to focus on the topic at hand and frazzled. She then starts crying. How would you proceed? I'm just going to give you a moment to think about this. Maybe this is a scenario that is really near and dear to your heart. Maybe something that you can relate to. Maybe it's something that you have witnessed in others. Okay. And so, how would you proceed? Let's see here. How can I help you? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big, elaborate, big opener, right? It can be something so simple of how can I help? Let's see, ask her if she's okay. Michelle, you don't seem like yourself today. Is something going on? Also, also ask how can I help? Ask her if she would like to talk about it. Listen without interrupting, encouraging her to share more. Ask if you can help her in any way. Is everything okay? Something you would like to talk about. Tell her I'm here for you if she would like to talk. I would stop and put everything else aside. Focus on that one person and assist them out of the room if needed and just listen. Yes. And I love that you're like, oh, this might not be the place. Okay. Maybe we need to go to another place. Okay. Ask to meet with her in person. Also ask how I could help her or if she wants to talk about anything. Yes. Ask if she wants to meet up in person to chat. How can we help? Suggest calling the EAP team. Yeah, absolutely. Because we can help you. We can even coach you through that. Right. Let me see. I just want to see. I feel like I maybe have missed a few. So let's see if there's anything else. Okay, I don't think I've missed any. If I have, I apologize. But yes, and so just really like just connecting with her. Okay, I think what's really amazing in this scenario is that she may feel a sense of connection to be able to be that emotional among her coworkers or among friends, and so just really recognizing that, you know, and then to go from there. And so here are some resources to keep handy for you to call, for advice, or to share with those in need. And if any of these seem resonant with you, I want to just encourage you to take a screenshot of that or write them down. You will be able to get access to all of these slide decks, to the slide deck, and so you can always go back to this specific slide. This is actually slide number 16, and just kind of keep this handy for yourself, for others, you know, and whenever that you may need it. Okay. Um, yeah, what can I do to help? Or is there anyone I can contact for you? I love that. Okay. Because you might not be the safe person. And that there's no judgment there. There's no right or wrong, good or bad there. But I just might think about, who you might feel most comfortable it with and your ability to be open to that person. So there might be someone like that for her. Right. So last but not least, one of the most important yet overlooked steps is to check in with your colleague after the conversation. Popping a reminder on your calendar or smartphone or calling them in a couple of days or weeks to see how they are doing. And you can always say, and I'm sure we've all said this to a certain degree, like, hey, I've been thinking about you, or I was walking by, I saw this, and I just thought of you, just wondering how you're doing. I've been I've been thinking about the conversation we just had. I want to thank you for your openness. I bet that wasn't easy. And hey, can we go on another coffee chat again? I'd like to know what it is that I can help you in any way, and then providing with encouragement, offering any more assistance, and being patient. They might not be ready to take next steps, or what, just sharing with someone, just kind of just being really transparent, just makes all the difference in the world because you think about what happens when there is transparency, when there is vulnerability. There is such this deep sense of connection, and to know that internally, emotionally, you're not alone can make all the difference. So, one of the ways that we can have energy to cope with mental health concerns is by managing some of our own life stressors that are on our plates. And that can free up our time and mental capacity to better cope with mental health concerns and boost our own emotional well being. And so these are just some ideas of some of the things that maybe some of you are already doing, maybe all of you are already doing. So I just want you to just see what is resonant with you. Maybe um, choose one that you are already doing. Maybe just kind of think about that. Think about why you're doing it. Think about how it feels. Thinking about also the visualization of, like, maybe it's exercising, like maybe it's walking that dog every single day, and just being alone, you know, out in nature. Or it might be that social connection, like once a week you're with certain friends and you guys all go out, you have a good time where you get to just laugh and share and express. And so just think about one of those things that you might be doing. And I bet we can probably add 5 or 10 more to this list. So this is not an exclusive list where this is all that you have to do to manage stress and bring in self-care. But I think that there's much more in place. And so I'm just curious to know from you, like, what are the some of the self-care that you put into place right now that's kind of like a lifesaver for you, or that kind of keeps you kind of like floating? And if you'd be willing to share that in the chat box. And it could be the exercise, whatever that looks like. It could be hitting the gym, or it could just be like, hey, I'm just hitting the pavement and I'm just going to go on a walk. It could be counseling. You're already working with a therapist, you're working with a health practitioner, and man, you have really good connection with that person. Like, there's a lot of safety, there's a lot of trust, there's a lot of openness, and there's a lot of like honest feedback that's coming towards you, and you're able to receive it, even though it might be hard sometimes. Maybe there's a hobby or activity, and so you might be a closet underwater basket weaver. I know that's really not a thing, but it could be just something. You can be in pickleball. It could be anything. What is that thing? It could be a very specific social connection, whether it is those that you know, but it's also maybe you're a person that just likes to challenge yourself and you like to go out and meet completely new people. A healthy diet, quality sleep. Like sleep, yeah, it is sacred to you. Nobody, nobody gets between you and sleep. Meaning and purpose, wherever you're going to get that. That could be personal life. It could be in your relational. It could be professional. It could be spiritual. It could be nonprofit. It could be an advocate. Whatever that is. It could be an ally. Whatever that is. So if you can just share that in the chat box. And also, one other thing is can we add one more thing to it? Not trying to add more to your plate, but can we get curious about something that maybe is on this list that maybe you haven't tried yet? Like, you're really good with the counseling part, but What does a healthy diet look like? That doesn't mean that we get rid of everything on our list and we adopt a completely new diet, but are there little shifts that you can begin to do that might help you to sleep better? Okay, whatever that is, I'm just like throwing ideas out. So let me look in here because I think I see something's coming up. Let's see here. Ooh, there's some really good stuff. I love all of this. Okay, hold on a second. Nope. Okay, I went a little too high. And again, thank you for those who shared about what some of your body cues are. And I hope that again you're bringing that in as information. Um, let's see here. All right, see, working in my flower bed, in your flower bed. Okay, that sounds lovely. Yeah. And wherever you are, we're kind of like in spring, slowly going into summer, right? So that's really fun to see the flowers in bloom. Listening to music on my playlist, instant mood lifter for me. Absolutely, Kay. And as you're saying that, I'm just curious to know if there's a specific song or music that's coming up for you, that you're itching to listen right now. And so I'm giving you permission to do that. Creative journaling. Ooh, I love that. It's not just journaling, it's creative journaling. That's actually super interesting. Reading and gardening, making sure I get enough sleep, right? Social connection and exercise. Yeah, super important. And just noticing what that is offering your body. When you're feeling the stress and the anxiety and the frustration, what does the exercise and the social connection offer you? Um, that's so beautiful. Let's see here. Go into my sewing room. Oh, that sounds so much fun. And let's see here. Gym 5 times a week for 2 hours at a time. Oh, wow. Yeah. And so there's like, you're working it. You're working it in there. Going out into my garden. Love it. Talking to my therapist and getting out of the house. Right. I love that. Exercise and hanging out with family and friends. Meditation, talking to family and friends, hanging out with friends. Yes. And water aerobics with friends. Now that sounds very fun. I love that too. Sitting on my back porch, reading and listening to the birds and squirrels. I can literally feel my body relax in my swing, right? And it's so interesting as I'm inviting you to share. Okay, what's really going on is I'm also unintentionally invite you to imagine that that place of de-stressing, that place in the gym, the place on that swing, your back porch, the garden, the creative journal, like it's all coming back. And it's so interesting because what we imagine, the body will then respond. And you said it so perfectly. It's like I can literally feel my body relax in my swing. Yes. But I'm curious to know if you can actually feel the swinging movement right now and just starting to feel your body just relax just a little bit. Just just by simply answering that question and bringing that up. Okay? And so I just want you to know that reimagining is always available to you. Knitting, crocheting, journaling, working with my therapist, yes. And I bet just even thinking about your therapist, okay, and maybe the last conversation you had with your therapist and some of the aha moments that came up, some of the empowering thoughts and narratives that are coming up. Journaling about my day or my feelings, counseling, seeing the doctor regularly, spending time with my friends, family, reading, gardening, hobbies, and knowing that everything I do is making a better life for my family. I love that. So there's like this knowingness. Okay, I love that knowing. All of the above. Journaling about my days, going to the gym, reading, watching funny movies. Yes. There's something to be said about laughter, right? And funny movies, cooking, trying new recipes. And I call that also creativity in the kitchen as well. Sometimes disconnecting is not necessary. No, it is necessary. I apologize. So no phone, no chores, and spending some time in a happy place. Permission to not have to do anything for a short period of time or a long period of time. I'm gonna get, so and I love how you're giving yourself permission to really tap into yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I need? What feels nourishing right now? What is resonating with me? And taking a drive. Yeah, going down and going through your favorite places to drive and just allow your mind to just go through a mind wander. And so there's so many ways that we can learn to de-stress. And the thing is, it's not always going to change our circumstances, but things get to start shifting within our own self. Right, so we have about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to just kind of end this webinar by talking more about some of the resources of Support Link that I've been mentioning. And so one of the first resources is the interactive toolkits. Maybe some of you know, maybe all of you know what these are, but these are really quick, simple, easy to access toolkits, interactive toolkits. We've got mindfulness, meditation, sleep. I think one of you mentioned like you're sleeping too much, another one said sleeping too little. So having a look into the sleep fitness right now. There's one on grief and loss. Let's see here, and other additional resources. And the beautiful thing about this is it's so shareable. Like you can share it with each other. You can share it with coworkers, family members, spouses, partners, neighbors, strangers. Lately, I've just been encouraging everyone to just share it with one stranger. Because you never know, like they might be looking for something and they're just waiting. They don't have access to this. And you could be the means of offering support to somebody. And then who is Support Link? A Support Link is a benefit offered by your employer that provides expert guidance and resources to help strengthen your overall health and well-being. And so depending on your eligibility, maybe some of you already know this, maybe some of you don't, but you may have access to clinical therapy sessions with a counselor. So please take time to reach out to HR or you call Support Link and find out if you have access to these. The great things about this service is that it is confidential. It is no cost to you. And not only is it for you as an employee, but it is also extended out to family, especially children. And then there is work-life benefits such as legal consultation. So these are free in-person or telephonic meetings with an attorney to discuss a wide array of legal matters. The only exception is employment law that is not covered. Another one is financial consultation. So if you are looking to create like a financial plan, if you need guidance on budgeting, bankruptcy prevention, retirement, home buying, whatever that is, they can help you with that as well. There's also identity theft consultation. And so Support Link's identity recovery professionals will help you to create an immediate action plan if your identity has been compromised. And then there's also expert dependent care referrals. So our work-life referral specialists provide referrals to resources that can help you meet a variety of needs that can arise from caring for your children or your aging loved ones, or it might be both. Like you're going to need help on both ends of the spectrum. And then finally, convenience referrals. So Support Link's work and life specialists also provide referrals to home improvement, pet care, finding a contractor, travel, wellness, whatever that is, they can help you. And then how to get in touch with them. So for more information, here is their number that you can contact. And they are available day and night, like 24/7, which is really great. Another one is to visit the web portal. And so when visiting the web portal, it's going to ask you to log in or create an account. If you have not yet created an account, all you need is your company code, which is PSH. And then from there, create a username, a password, so you can have access to all the wonderful resources and benefits available through your EAP. And so that's it. Let me see. Any other? Let's see. Yes, I love that they raise our allotment to 10 sessions. Oh no, wait, stop it! I have not heard that. You're probably the first. You're probably the first corporation that I've heard. I've heard of 6 and 8, but not 10. So bravo! And I think it is. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 10 sessions per topic. That's what I'm thinking. But you definitely want to reach out to your HR person or to Support Link. And so, if one of your topics is you're having like teenage issues, yeah, definitely go get help for that. And then there's the other thing, that your kids don't know about. So you go have help for that one too. So I think that's it. Thank you so much. Anything else?
No, thank you. As someone mentioned, mental health support is so needed. So I thought this was
It
a
is.
wonderful presentation, a lot of
It
great
is.
resources. And as mentioned, we will send out the slide deck and a recording in a follow-up email. So stay tuned for that. So if there's no other questions, again, thank you all for your time and for being such an interactive audience. It always makes these sessions so much more enjoyable when you're interacting and talking to us. So we thank you for that. And stay tuned for our next session, which is on June 18th. It's called Reducing and Managing Pain. So more information to come on that. But with that, thank you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.